The other day, my friend was saying to me that my daughter will need to start to get comfortable being uncomfortable. She'll have to be comfortable in her discomfort, in reference to her being in language immersion spaces where they're only speaking Spanish and she is still learning Spanish and she's working on building her confidence. And so it's a really uncomfortable situation. You can feel kind of like an outcast. You can feel left out when you do not know the language because it's difficult to communicate. And I was like, I get it. But it had me thinking about what that phrase means because a lot of us talk about you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is not untrue. But what does that look like? What does that mean? Why do we say it? How does it help us? Let's talk about it. So, first and foremost, this would be my definition. This is in Webster, but it wouldn't be in Webster because it's words, but this is like a string of words together. It's a phrase. Let's get comfortable being uncomfortable. But you can look up all the words and you can put it piece something together. What I'm trying to say is this is my own from my head idea of what this means, which is to put ourselves in intentionally uncomfortable situations in kind of this immersion therapy way. Like this kind of what do they call it? Not immersion therapy. What do they call it, y'all? Help me out. Exposure therapy in a sense. So hear me out. It's to me this idea of doing something that doesn't feel quite in your lane, in your zone, that doesn't make you feel comfortable because it's unfamiliar, and doing it purposefully so that you can get more comfortable with it, or because you're trying to push yourself or you're trying to grow and you want to put yourself in those spaces. That is un- being comfortable being uncomfortable, or being comfortable in your discomfort. And when you put yourself, I think people do this maybe not intentionally. They just are thrust into comfortable situations and it's like, oh. But often I would say the phrase when we use it, it's because we are thinking about putting ourselves in an uncomfortable situation, or about to embark upon an uncomfortable situation, and we've got to figure it out. You're moving across the country for a new career or a new job and you don't know anybody and it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel familiar, it doesn't feel safe, and you're thrust into the deep end and you've got to swim or sink. You've got to figure out how to tread water. You've got to figure out how to, puff it up, breathe, get to the surface by any means necessary in some way, shape, or form. And when we do that, I really do believe, like exposure therapy, it helps us get more comfortable in general across the board with uncomfortable situations. For example, I just came back from camping. I am going to try to do a shorts, like a short, not multiple shorts, a short where I kind of highlight some of the things on the camping trip. I took quite a few pictures and things like that. And there were elements of it even before I went where I was like, I feel uncomfortable from what people are telling me and how this is going to go down, from what I'm used to camping being back in Atlanta when I was camping 3 or 4 times a year. This is what I'm used to it being. This sounds like it's going to be different than that. And in my head, I thought that the differences were going to make me uncomfortable. And this is before I went. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm used to a campsite. This is my number. I booked it. This is my site. And I have a spigot and I have oh, hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. And at the campsite, I have like a little water spigot situation and a little, like, there's a stake with electricity that you can plug in something, which in hindsight, as I said it to people here and they were like, oh, that's fancy camping. And I was like, is it? Because it never felt fancy to me. I'm still in a tent. I'm still washing my dishes at like a little water spigot. But access to the water and access to the electricity from someone else seems like it's fancy, seems like a lot, seems like, more. I didn't know what the bathroom situations are going to look like. And honestly, bathrooms are always challenging for me on camping, just on any campsite. You never know what the conditions are going to be, if it's going to be well maintained, because that depends in the states on the host and, how they run their establishment. and you don't know how the shower is going to be, how comfortable you're going to be, and getting clean, which you got to get clean. You got to go to the bathroom. And so that can be challenging for me. And I get up in the night. And so having to like trek it to the bathroom and not knowing what that was going to be or what that was going to look like. So all this I kind of built up in my head, like, oh, I'm gonna be uncomfortable. And yet I was like, and I'm gonna do it anyway, and I'm gonna see how it is. And honestly, my head and what I was imagining it was gonna be was a lot different than what it really was. It was actually quite familiar. I didn't know that going in. Okay. So I was exposure therapy. But I didn't know that going in. But I I did it anyway, and I realized that a lot of the differences between camping in the States and camping here were just really welcome because we were on this land with this grass overlooking this beach, and we could go to the ocean and the beach. It was like a camping trip and a beach trip kind of rolled into one. The water was comfortable. There was one area we can go out pretty far, and it was still like knee length, maybe upper thigh length. It was very shallow, and so you can kind of really enjoy the water in a different way. And I woke up every morning to the sunrise over the beach, and that is a sight. That is beautiful. I would just walk out there, and so it was a different kind of beautiful and a different kind of feeling of being in nature. And I was like, oh, I like this. I enjoy it. My phone did not work at all at the campsite. Like not even a little bit, not even a struggle signal. And so completely disconnected from my phone for a weekend was also really nice. And I hadn't really had that. There's usually something can get in terms of communication when I was on the campsites prior to this. So it was my first time camping in Panama. And I purposely and intentionally was like, even if it's uncomfortable for me, I'm going to push through. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to look at all of the elements that I'm grateful for and that feel good to me. And I feel like that's what it is. It's intentionally putting yourself in these spaces. I mentioned in my Instagram stories that I went belly dancing for the first time. I've always felt like belly dance was really intimidating. Like I can't do the isolations that y'all do. The fact that your hips moving this way and your belly is doing, I don't think I can do that. And I limited myself. And so me going to this trial belly dancing class was me breaking out of that and maybe feeling a little uncomfortable because maybe I couldn't do a certain move, but maybe the next time that I take that class, I can. Because I think I'm going to sign up for I think 5 or 6, no, 4 classes, and for the month and upcoming classes, and just do that thing because even though I'm not super comfortable, I got more comfortable when I just said yes and I tried it. And sometimes, like I said, with the camping, what's in our head about taking a leap and trying something can be far more complicated and far more challenging than it actually is when we get into the thing itself. And that's how I felt with camping. I hope that's how my daughter feels. And she's in Spanish immersion spaces that I thought this was going to be a lot more challenging than it actually is. Or maybe she'll be right and it will be a challenge. But what will she gain and what will she learn from it? And I asked myself the same questions: what will I gain and what will I learn from it? One of my top reasons for moving abroad was to expand personally, was personal development, was personal growth, was putting myself in situations that were not comfortable. This was a very intentional thing. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who's coming to visit. I'm really excited. My first visitor in Panama. And she's coming with her daughter, and she was like, yeah, she has things she wants to do. This is her vacation, it's spring break. I was like, I'm here for it. Let's do it. And she was like, I want to do this tram thing. I said, what now? Because tram sounds high. Sounds like one of those high things where you're just dangling from the sky. And like, no, I don't do that. I'm scared. I can hardly cross the bridge on foot without, quickening my breath. And I booked it because I'm like, she's coming here to see us and to enjoy her vacation. And she wants to have an adventurous vacation. I'm going to go. I'm, this is way out. Okay, you hit a bass, I'm becoming a baritone, just I don't know which one it is, but I'm low because that is way out of my comfort zone. I am absolutely uncomfortable with the idea. However, I'm like, I'm gonna try it because I'm sure that in my head it's much worse than what's actually going to transpire with me going on this tram that many of people have been on and just step. It feels like a step out on faith to go on a tram. But one of the ways that I feel this helps me is that it allows me to create a sense of resilience and create a sense of I can do this. That in and of itself is priceless. Like to be able to tap into what we actually can do, because so often we will tell ourselves what we cannot do. We will put these barriers up, and I'm trying, and I'm not trying. I would say I'm striving. I am striving and doing this because I'm realizing the way that I'm structuring that sentence wasn't making sense. But I'm striving to make sure that my kids aren't like, I can't do it. And I would respond to, okay, well, what can you do? Or if it feels hard, like you can, why do you feel you can't do it? Okay, this is going to be hard. Well, you can do hard things. You think you can do hard things? Remember that time when you thought you couldn't do, you couldn't fly a kite, and then you were flying that kite, for a week straight, like a natural, whatever it is. But encouraging them that they can do it. And for me, as a grown person, being able to say that I can do this thing at my big age, that I can conquer a fear. Child, the more I think about it, the more I feel like I might be breaking out in hives. But it's okay. But to conquer fear, like of heights with a friend of mine whom I trust, like going on a camping trip that feels different and unfamiliar than camping trips that I have been in before and in the States, or going to troubleshoot an issue with my phone at a place where nobody speaks English and I really have to rely on words that I know and the Spanish that I know to get by. Like all of these things are taking me out of my place of comfort and familiarity and plopping me in a very unfamiliar place. And that is what they mean when they say get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with your discomfort. I I know that there are going to be things that make me uncomfortable in life. And while my first reason for how it helps is that it allows me to be more resilient and more like can do attitude. I can do it. It also allows me to be okay with having hard conversations in my relationships, whether it be friendships or my husband. None of that is easy. There might still be hesitance when a difficult conversation needs to be broached. I am going to give some consideration and think about how I want to approach this and what makes sense. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm still going to do it. I might even do it hesitant, and I might even say, I'm about to tell you something and I'm uncomfortable about saying it. I'm not intending to upset you, but it is something that's real for me and that I'd like to share. Can I share it? And a lot of times it'll be like, yeah, or okay. Now they have a little hesitance, right? Because of how you frame that. But you're being honest and I'm being honest. And I can I can have those conversations even if I feel like it's going to go left, even if they're not going to like it, even if it might change how they see me. It might change how I see them in some subtle way or bigger way. You never know sometimes until you have the conversation, until you broach the thing. But I feel like that's one of the biggest things is that I can approach challenging or hard conversations with people that I care about. And I care about what they think, and I consider who they are and who they are to me and how that's meaningful. It's not always easy to lay it all out. It's not always easy to be honest when it's easier to be silent. Like being speaking up when it's easier to be silent, when it feels more comfortable, when silence is the blanket and and you're under that blanket and you're feeling cozy and it's 35 degrees, outside of that blanket, and you got to get up and go somewhere, go to the bathroom. You're thinking about holding it, don't. Get that blanket off. Get off that security blanket that you've been holding on to and actually broach the conversation with the people that you care about. And in addition to resilience and like knowing that you can do something that you once limited yourself, around, being able to deepen relationships, platonic and romantic, because I I'm comfortable with the discomfort of having an uncomfortable or hard conversation. And I've seen and know that so many of us have a tendency to run from those conversations, to avoid them, to not want to deal with them because it doesn't feel good. It's not. But when you start to build up that muscle, when you start to expose yourself to things and say yes to things that are outside of that space of comfort, outside of your comfort zone, you build up things within yourself that you don't even realize you're building up. If I survive, no, I shouldn't say that. Nope, I'm going to take that back because we're not going to claim that. If mentally and emotionally I get from point A of the tram to point B of the tram ride, I would be like, dang, Imani, you did it. You was scared as hell. And you still did it. You still made it happen. I think that's going to feel like quite an accomplishment just by the nature of biting off, biting off something, child. I'm a little tired. I just came back from camping. Brain fog is real. I'm tired, but I'm here with this video to be honest, because I'm like, phrases are not coming out of my head and coming out of my mouth, like not coming from my head to my mouth to you in a way that I would like them to. So thank you for bearing with me, because I was about to say bit off more than I chew, but I was like, I haven't. That's not really where I was going with this. But it's really because I took the leap. I did the thing. I sat in the discomfort. I sit in it. You got to sit in it and you got to feel it. And you're like, oh, I don't like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's all it is. And by all, I don't mean to say that that's simple or easy by any means, but that's what it takes. And it might feel like that's something that you can't do, but you can. We all have the capability to do that. So, yeah, I mean, I would resilience and the ability to approach challenging situations and conversations. I mean, and that's pretty darn good. That's a pretty tight and dope reward for stepping out of your comfort zone. And I do think we need to believe that there's light at the end of that tunnel. There is reward that's being built within ourselves around those, when we're having to step out of our comfort zone and be uncomfortable and not like it or feel left out or feel whatever and still do the thing anyway. So before my eyelids close, because I feel like they're trying, hopefully within this there's something that resonated that you could take with you. Let me know in the comments if there is. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm Imani Aisha, and I'm here with you having these daily conversations around how we can deepen and strengthen and have more feel-good relationship with self and our partners. And thus, I use thus. Wow. Okay. I really wanted to say and also, and it came out thus, and also with other relationships that are important around us. So if that message resonated with you, like I said, let me know in the comments. Go ahead and give this a thumbs up. And if these kinds of conversations are your vibe, then please subscribe. Let's continue to go on the journey. Let's continue to have these conversations together, because in my head, this isn't just a one-sided conversation. You are there as well. You're listening, you're engaging, and view every like, comment, view. I appreciate you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.